Welcome back, dreamers, to another episode of Subreddit Dreams. Today we're diving deep into the best corners of Reddit to bring you stories that will stick with you long after the video ends. If you enjoy getting lost in a good tale, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for your daily dose of Reddit's finest. Settle in, clear your mind, and let's jump right into our first story.
Story 1. A 29 male proposed to my fiancée 8 months ago. We'd been together for 3 years before that. I thought we were solid. I thought wrong. 3 days before Valentine's Day, she sat me down in our living room with that serious expression that tells you bad news is incoming. I've been thinking, she started, about us. About whether we're really right for each other. My stomach dropped. Where is this coming from? I just need to know if what I feel for you is real love or just comfort, familiarity. You know, we're engaged. You said yes 8 months ago. I know, and I meant it. But lately I've been wondering if I said yes because I genuinely want to spend my life with you, or because it was expected. Because you're safe. Safe. She called me safe. Like that's a bad thing. So what are you saying? I want a break. Just for a little while. To see if I miss you. To see if being apart makes me realize how much I need you. The timing wasn't lost on me. Valentine's Day was in 3 days. The reservation I made 2 months ago at the fancy Italian place she loved. The weekend trip I'd planned. The earrings I'd already bought. 3 days before Valentine's, I said flatly, I know the timing isn't great. The timing is perfect, actually, for you. What does that mean? It means you get to be single on Valentine's Day. Free to do whatever or whoever without technically cheating. And if it doesn't work out, you come back to safe old me. Her face hardened. That's not fair. I'm trying to be honest with you. Honest would have been talking about this before we got engaged. Or before you accepted the ring. Or before I put down a deposit on a wedding venue. I didn't know how I felt then. And now you suddenly do? 3 days before Valentine's. She crossed her arms. I need space to figure things out. That's not unreasonable. I looked at her for a long moment. The woman I'd planned to marry. The woman I'd build a life with. The woman who was now asking for permission to test the waters while keeping me as a backup plan. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay. Take all the time you need. Really? You're okay with this? I'm saying take your break. Figure out what you want. I won't stop you. She looked almost disappointed. Like she'd expected more of a fight. More begging. More proof of how much I needed her. I'm going to stay with my sister for a few days, she said. Just to clear my head. Sure. You're being weirdly calm about this. What would you prefer? Should I cry? Beg? Would that prove my love better than 3 years of actually being there? She didn't answer. Just packed a bag and left. The moment the door closed, I did something I've been putting off for weeks. I called and canceled the Valentine's reservation. The $200 deposit was non-refundable. But honestly, that was cheaper than the emotional cost of sitting at that table alone. Then I returned the earrings. Got store credit. Used it to buy myself a new watch I'd been eyeing for months. Something just for me. Felt strange. Felt right. Then I sat down and really thought about the last few months. The late nights she'd been working. The new interest in self-improvement. The distance that had been growing between us that I'd chalked up to wedding stress. I pulled up her location, sharing on my phone. She'd never turned it off. She wasn't at her sister's house. She was across town, at an apartment complex I didn't recognize. Interesting. I screenshot it, saved it, then turned off my own location sharing, so she couldn't track me. The next morning, I woke up to a text from her. Missing you already. Hope you're doing okay. I left it on read. If she missed me so much, she could have stayed. But she didn't. She chose to leave. She chose to lie about where she was going. That text was just maintenance, keeping me warm on the back burner while she explored her options. 2 days before Valentine's, I got a text from her cousin. We'd always gotten along well. She was the cool one in the family, the one who called out BS when she saw it, the one who'd privately told me once that I was too good for her cousin. Cousin, hey. Heard what happened. You okay? Me been better. How'd you find out? Cousin. She posted on Instagram about taking time for myself with a spa selfie. Asked my aunt. Got the full story. Me, what did she tell you? Cousin. That you're being unsupportive of her emotional journey. Her words. Me, wow. Cousin, yeah. For what it's worth, I think she's being ridiculous. You deserve better. Me, thanks. Means a lot. Cousin. If you need someone to talk to, I'm around. Serious offer. I thought about it for maybe 30 seconds. Me? Actually, yeah. Want to grab coffee tomorrow? Cousin, sure. I'll text you the place. The next day, February 13th, I met her cousin at a coffee shop. We talked for 3 hours. About the situation, about her family, about how her cousin had always been the golden child who got away with everything. She's not at her sister's. I told her. What do you mean? Location sharing. She's at some apartment across town. Has been since she left. Never once went to her sister's place. Her cousin's expression shifted. Understanding, then disgust. She's with someone. That's my guess. She wanted a break conveniently right before Valentine's Day. Lied about where she was staying and has been at the same address for 3 days. Doesn't take a detective. That's not a break to find herself. That's a trial run with another guy. Yeah. I figured. And she expected you to just wait? Well, she did this. That's exactly what she expected. The break was supposed to give her freedom while keeping me on ice. What are you going to do? Nothing. She wanted a break. She's getting one. I'm just not going to be waiting when she decides she's done experiment. Her cousin looked at me with something like respect. Most guys would be losing it right now. What's the point? She made her choice. I'm just accepting it faster than she expected. You know. She hesitated. This is probably inappropriate. But do you have plans tomorrow? For Valentine's? I did. Canceled them. I don't either. My ex and I split 3 months ago. First Valentine's single in 4 years. That sucks. It does. Want me single together? Strictly as friends. Anti-Valentine's solidarity. I laughed. Actually laughed for the first time in days. Sure. Why not? There's this new tapas place I've been wanting to try. Nothing fancy. Just good food and maybe too much wine. Sounds perfect. So that's how I ended up having Valentine's Day dinner with my fiance's cousin. And that's what my fiance called. Update 1. Valentine's Day evening. We were halfway through our second bottle of wine when my phone rang. Her name on the screen. Her cousin saw it. Raised an eyebrow. You gonna answer? Might as well. I picked up. Hello. Hey. Happy Valentine's Day. Her voice was bright, almost manic. I've been thinking about you all day. Have you? Yes. And I realized I was so stupid. I don't need a break. I know what I want. I want you. I want US. Background noise on her end. Restaurant sounds. Glasses clinking. Where are you? I asked. Just out. With some friends. Nothing crazy. But I want to come home. Tonight. Can we talk? Sure. We can talk. Great. I'll be there in like an hour. We can order in, watch a movie, make up for lost time. Her voice dropped suggestively. I really missed you. Did you? Of course. This break made me realize how much you mean to me. You're my person. Interesting. Because according to your location sharing, you've been at the same apartment across town for the last 3 days. Not at your sister's like you said. Dead silence on the line. What? The apartment complex. The one you've been staying at since you needed space. Whose place is that? That's... You were tracking me? You never turned off location sharing. I just looked. That's a complete violation of my privacy. And lying about where you were staying is what? Exactly. Her cousin was watching me. Wine glass paused halfway to her lips. She could hear enough to piece it together. It's not what you think, my fiancé said quickly. It's just a friend's place. A friend. You've been staying with a friend for 3 days. On a break from our relationship. 3 days before Valentine's Day. You're twisting this. Then explain it. I don't have to explain anything to you. You're being controlling and paranoid. I actually laughed. I'm controlling? You asked for a break so you could stay with some other guy without it being cheating. And I'm the problem. I didn't. It wasn't. She was sputtering now. Where are you right now? I can hear noise. Are you at a restaurant? I am, actually. On Valentine's Day? With who? I looked across the table at her cousin, who was now openly grinning. Your cousin, actually. The silence that followed was almost worth the entire disaster. My cousin? You're on a date with my cousin. It's not a date. It's 2 single people having dinner on Valentine's Day. Since we're on a break and all, we're not on a break anymore. I just said, you said you wanted a break. I gave you one. Now you're upset that I'm not sitting at home crying while you test drive your other option. That's not how this works. You cannot date my cousin. According to you, I can do whatever I want. We're on a break. That's the whole point. Her cousin grabbed the phone from my hand. Hey, it's me. Quick question. Does your mystery friend know you're engaged? Or did you conveniently forget to mention that while you were finding yourself? I heard screeching from the phone. Her cousin just laughed. Thought so. Enjoy your night. She hung up and handed the phone back to me. That felt good, she admitted. She's going to lose her mind. She's already lost it. She just didn't realize you weren't going to be a pushover about it. My phone immediately started buzzing. Text after text. You're going to regret this. I can't believe you would do this to me. My own cousin? Really? You're sick. We're done. The engagement is off. I showed her cousin. She shrugged. Wasn't the engagement already off when she asked for a break to stay with another guy? Technically, yes. Then she's just catching up to reality. My phone rang again. Her mother this time. I sent it to voicemail. Then her sister called. Voicemail. Then her father. Same. Within an hour, I had 16 missed calls and probably 50 texts. I turned my phone off. Her cousin was watching the notifications pile up before I silenced the phone. She looked almost impressed. That's a lot of reaction for someone who wanted to take a break. She's not mad that the relationship is over. She's mad that she lost control of the narrative. How do you mean? She expected me to be devastated, crying, begging for her back. Instead, I'm at dinner with her cousin, clearly fine. That's not how she planned this. In her version, she was supposed to come back whenever she wanted, and I was supposed to be grateful. And instead, she found out I'm not a backup plan. I'm a person with options. That's what she can't handle. Want to get dessert? Her cousin asked. Absolutely. We didn't get home until midnight. By then, my fiancée had apparently driven to our apartment. Her car was in the lot. The lights were on inside. She's here, I said. Wanted to come up? Moral support. Probably not a good idea. She'll use it against both of us. Fair point. Text me later. Let me know you're okay. I will. I went upstairs. Unlocked the door. She was sitting on the couch, mascara streaked. Still in whatever she'd been wearing at the restaurant. We need to talk, she said. About what? The break you requested? Or the guy you've been staying with? Or the fact that you're upset I wasn't waiting faithfully while you cheated? I didn't cheat. We're on a break. A break you asked for specifically so you could be with him without it being cheating. That's just cheating with extra steps. You're unbelievable. I try to be honest with you. Honest? You told me you were staying at your sister's. You were at some random apartment. You planned this whole thing to give yourself a guilt-free pass. That's not honesty. That's strategy. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you. You knew exactly how to tell me. I want a break. To see if I miss you. That was your speech. Practice, probably. You just didn't mention the part where you already had someone lined up. You're twisting everything. I'm stating facts. You wanted a break. You got one. Now you're mad that the break applies to both of us. I went behind my back with my own cousin. I didn't go behind anything. I had dinner with someone. You literally gave me permission to do whatever I wanted when you asked for a break. I didn't think you'd actually do anything. You're supposed to miss me. You're supposed to wait. There it was. The truth. So the break was a test. You wanted to see if I'd be miserable without you while you had fun with your backup plan. That's not. And when I didn't react the way you expected, when I didn't beg and cry and prove how lost I am without you, you decided to come back early. Before I could realize I don't actually need you. Her face crumpled. That's so cruel. No. What's cruel is asking your fiancé for a break 3 days before Valentine's Day so you can sleep with another guy. What's cruel is lying about where you were staying. What's cruel is expecting me to be grateful when you decided to come back. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was a calculated plan to have your cake and eat it too. And now you're mad that I won't play along. She stood up. I want a ring back. Fine. I went to the bedroom, got the ring box from where she'd left it on the dresser, and handed it to her. That's IT? You're not even going to fight for us? No. After 3 years, you asked for a break to be with someone else. What exactly am I supposed to fight for? She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Then she grabbed her bag, the ring box, and stormed out. I slept better that night than I had in months. Update 2, 1 week later. The week after Valentine's Day was interesting. That's putting it mildly. First, the family campaign started. Her mother called me 7 times in 2 days. I answered once. You need to apologize to my daughter. She started without preamble. For what? For humiliating her. For going on a date with her own cousin. For being cruel and vindictive. Did she tell you that she spent her break at another man's apartment? That she lied about where she was staying? Pause. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. She wanted freedom to explore other options. I gave it to her. She didn't like that I used the same freedom. You were engaged. You have responsibilities. So did she. She chose to ignore them. She hung up on me. Her sister texted me a novel about how I was emotionally abusive for tracking her location. I replied with one line. She never turned off location sharing. I just looked. No response to that. Her father, surprisingly, was more measured. He called once, asked what happened from my perspective, actually listened, and then said, I'm not going to defend what she did. But I hope you understand this puts the family in a difficult position. Understand. I also didn't create the situation. No. You didn't. He sounded tired. Take care of yourself. That was it. Probably the only reasonable person in her entire family. Meanwhile, her cousin and I kept talking. Not romantically. Not yet. Just talking. She was the only person who saw the situation clearly without family bias. They're rallying around her, she told me over coffee a few days later. Full victim mode. She's telling everyone you were cold, distant, that you drove her away. And then when she tried to come back, you'd already replaced her with. Replaced her? We had dinner once. I know. But that's not the story she's telling. What's your family saying to you? She shrugged. My mom called me a traitor. My aunt won't speak to me. My sister said I should be ashamed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause problems for you. You didn't cause anything. She did. And honestly, the fact that they're blaming me instead of holding her accountable says everything about why she turned out the way she did. Still, it's your family. Some family is worth keeping. Some isn't. I'm old enough to know the difference. Here's where things got interesting. Remember how I mentioned she was at some guy's apartment? I did some digging. Not stalking, just following breadcrumbs. Social media is a gold mine if you know where to look. The apartment complex she was staying at, it's where her co-worker lives. The one she always said was just a work friend. The one she grabbed lunch with because their schedules align. The one whose name came up a little too often in casual conversation. Her cousin helped me piece it together. Apparently, this coworker had been liking all of her Instagram posts for months. Comments that were just a little too familiar. Inside jokes that excluded everyone else. The kind of engagement that makes you wonder how often they're actually talking. When I pointed this out to her cousin, she pulled up her own Instagram and started scrolling through my ex's posts. Look at this. Every single selfie. He's one of the first to comment. Beautiful as always. Lucky to know you. This has been going on since at least October. For months before she asked for a break. At minimum. This wasn't a sudden confusion about your relationship. This was a slow burn exit strategy. I sent him a message. Nothing aggressive. Just, hey, I'm the fiancé. Or was. Just wanted to let you know she has a pattern of doing this. Might want to consider that before getting serious. He blocked me within an hour. But I noticed something interesting. His Instagram went private. And her posts about finding herself and self-love journey suddenly stopped. Trouble in paradise already. My ex tried to contact me directly a few times. First, anger. You messaged him? Who do you think you are? Then guilt. I can't believe you would try to sabotage my life like this. I thought you were better than that. Then manipulation. I realize now that you're hurting. I hurt you. I'm sorry. Can we please just talk? I still love you. I made a terrible mistake. I didn't respond to any of them. Here's the thing about people like her. They don't understand when their manipulation stops working. Every time I didn't respond, she'd escalate. New approaches. New tactics. New stories. Each one designed to provoke a reaction. First came anger. How dare I message her coworker? Who did I think I was? I was obsessed and couldn't let go. Then came guilt. I was trying to sabotage her happiness. I wanted her to be miserable. I couldn't stand to see her move on. Then came manipulation. She realized now that she'd made a mistake. She still loved me. The break was a terrible idea. Could we please just talk like adults? Then came threats. If I didn't stop harassing her by not responding to her messages, apparently, she'd make sure everyone knew what kind of person I really was. I didn't respond to any of them. Each message got screenshot, dated, and saved. Just in case. She started telling mutual friends that I was obsessed with her and couldn't let go. Meanwhile, SHE was the one sending me messages. The cognitive dissonance was almost impressive. About 5 days after Valentine's Day, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. I didn't let her in. Please. 5 minutes. I just want to talk. About what? Us. Our future. I made a mistake. I know that now. What changed? She hesitated. Things didn't work out the way I expected. With your coworker? Her face went red. How did you? Lucky guess. So he dumped you. And now you want to come back to safe old me. Am I getting that right? It wasn't like that. I realized I was confused. I thought I wanted something else, but what I really want is you. No. What you want is a backup plan. Someone to catch you when your first choice doesn't work out. I'm not interested in that role. You're being so cruel. I'm being honest. Something you should have tried 3 weeks ago. She left crying. Somehow I was still the bad guy in her mind. The lease situation was complicated. We were both on it. Her name, my name, shared responsibility. The apartment manager said we need to figure it out among ourselves or wait until the lease was up in 4 months. I offered her a deal. I'd take over the full lease, she'd get her deposit back. About $1,400. And we'd call even. She refused. Demanded I pay her half the furniture value plus emotional damages. The furniture argument was ridiculous because I'd bought most of it before we even moved in together, and emotional damages isn't a thing in lease disputes. I told her to take it up with a lawyer. She didn't have one. Couldn't afford one. Her coworker apparently wasn't the financial rescue she'd been hoping for. Turns out the guy made about the same as she did, which is to say, not enough to fund the lifestyle she'd been enjoying on our combined income. Her cousin, meanwhile, became a genuine friend. We texted daily. Met for coffee a few times. Nothing romantic on the surface, but something was building. We both felt it. Is this weird? I asked her one evening at dinner. What? This. Us. You're her cousin. There are rules about this sort of thing. Rules made by people who've never been in the situation. She destroyed your relationship. I was here. We connected. That's not weird. That's just life. Your family will never accept it. Probably not. Does that bother you? I thought about it. Less than I thought it would. She smiled. Same. Final update. 3 weeks later. The resolution came faster than I expected. And Messier. My ex's desperation hit a peak about 2 weeks after Valentine's Day. The co-worker situation had apparently imploded spectacularly. Through the grapevine, her cousin, who still had 1 or 2 family members willing to share gossip, I learned that he'd broken things off because, wait for it, he found out she'd been engaged when they started talking. The irony was almost too perfect. She'd lied to him about me, just like she'd lied to me about him. And when the truth came out, he wanted nothing to do with her. From what her cousin gathered, the coworker had asked her directly, "Were you really engaged when we started talking?" And she'd apparently tried to spin it as technically, but basically over. He didn't buy it. Probably realized that if she'd lie about something that big, she'd lie about anything. So now she was single, humiliated, and living back with her parents. No fiancé, no boyfriend, no apartment. The life she'd been so eager to explore had collapsed in 3 weeks. Did I feel bad? A little. 3 years together doesn't just disappear. But mostly I felt relief. Relief that I'd seen who she really was before we'd gotten married. Before we'd had kids. Before she could do this to me when there was actually something at stake. The lease situation resolved itself when she realized she couldn't afford a lawyer, and I wasn't going to cave to her demands. She signed off on transferring the lease to me in exchange for her deposit back. I took the deal. $1,400 was a small price to pay for a clean break. Her stuff was packed by her sister on a Wednesday afternoon. I wasn't there. Didn't need to be. Her cousin offered to be present to make sure nothing got damaged or accidentally taken, but I declined. I just wanted it done. Everything she owned fit in about 12 boxes. Looking at the empty spaces in the apartment afterward, I realized how little of us there really was. Most of the furniture was mine. Most of the decor was mine. The kitchen stuff, the bedroom set, the TV, all mine, purchased before we moved in together or during the relationship with my money. She just occupied space. 3 years together, and she left barely a physical trace. Maybe that should have told me something earlier. The final communication came via email. Probably typed by her mother, knowing her writing style. It was 3 pages of emotional manipulation disguised as closure. She was hurt beyond words by my betrayal. She never meant for things to go this far. She still loved me despite my cruelty. She hoped I would someday realize what I'd lost. She wished me nothing but misery with her cousin. The last line was particularly charming. "You two deserve each other." I didn't respond. Just archived it in case I ever needed documentation. Her cousin read it, laughed, and said, "She's right about one thing. We probably do deserve each other. Just not in the way she means." About that, Her cousin and I didn't officially start dating until almost a month after Valentine's Day. We both wanted to make sure it was real, not just revenge or rebound. We took it slow. Dinner. Movies. Long conversations about what we both wanted. It was real. Different from anything I'd had before. She was honest in a way my ex never was. Direct. No games, no tests, no manipulation. When she felt something, she said it. When she wanted something, she asked for it. I know this is complicated, she told me one night. My family thinks I'm a traitor. Her family will never accept us. Every holiday is going to be awkward for the rest of our lives. Is that a deal breaker for you? No. Just a reality check. I want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. I know. And I'm in. She smiled. Me too. Her cousin, my girlfriend now, I guess, lost some family relationships over this. Her mom barely speaks to her. Her aunt, my ex's mother, sends passive-aggressive cards on holidays. Some cousins unfollowed her on social media. At one family dinner she wasn't invited to, apparently her name came up, and someone called her the betrayer, which is both dramatic and kind of hilarious. But her dad still talks to her. Her brother thinks the whole situation is hilarious and keeps asking for updates. And she has friends who understand. Family isn't just blood, she told me. Family is the people who show up for you, who tell you the truth even when it's hard, who don't enable your worst impulses. My ex never had that. She had enablers. People who made excuses for her, blamed everyone else, convinced her she was always the victim. And when that stopped working on me, she lost her mind. I ran into her once, about 3 weeks after everything settled. Grocery store, because of course. She saw me, froze, then walked the other direction. Didn't say a word. Neither did I. That's probably the best closure either of us is going to get. So where does this leave me? The apartment is quiet now. Different. I rearranged the furniture, painted one wall, bought some plants. It feels like mine for the first time in years. Her cousin comes over a few times a week. We cook dinner, watch bad reality TV, talk about our days. Normal stuff. Domestic stuff. It's nice. Simple in a way my previous relationship never was. Is it perfect? No. Her family still hates me. My ex is apparently telling anyone who will listen that I was abusive and she escaped a toxic relationship. Some people believe her. Most don't. But here's what I learned. You can't control what other people think of you. You can only control how you respond to situations. My ex wanted a break, so she could cheat without consequences. I gave her exactly what she asked for. And when the consequences came anyway, she blamed everyone but herself. That's her pattern. That'll always be her pattern. And I'm grateful I'm no longer part of it. To anyone reading this who's in a similar situation, trust your gut. When someone asks for a break right before a romantic holiday, they're not trying to find themselves. They're trying to find someone else while keeping you as a backup. You don't have to be the backup. You could just walk away. Let them discover exactly how much they need you. And when they come running back, you can be somewhere else entirely. Maybe even at a tapas restaurant with their cousin. Thanks for reading. Time to close this chapter. Story 2.
7 years. Liam and I have been together for 7 years, ever since we were dumb kids in a sophomore poli-sci class. Our life wasn't a fairy tale, but it was ours. We'd built it from scratch, from cheap ramen and secondhand furniture to a down payment on a house in a neighborhood with actual trees. When he dropped to one knee in our half-painted living room 3 months ago, holding a simple perfect ring, it felt less like a question and more like a final puzzle piece clicking into place. Of course, I said yes. My family was ecstatic. My mom, Rachel, cried. My dad, Ben, pulled Liam into a hug that looked like it might crack his ribs. "Welcome to the family, son," he'd boomed, clapping him on the back. About time. Looking back, that's when the weirdness started. It was so small at first, I didn't even register it. It was just phone calls. I'd be cooking dinner, and Liam's phone would buzz. He'd glance at the caller ID, smile, and say, "It's your dad." Be right back. He'd walk into the office and close the door. 30 minutes later, he'd emerge all smiles. "What was that about?" I asked the first time. "Just wedding stuff," he said, kissing my forehead. "Your dad wants to make a spreadsheet for the guest list. You know how he is." I did. My dad was a logistics guy. Spreadsheets were his love language. It made sense. A week later, it happened again. This time, they were on the phone for almost an hour. "Seriously, what are you two planning? A military coup?" I joked as he re-entered the kitchen. "Ha." He was asking my opinion on DJs. Wants to make sure we don't get some guy who plays the chicken dance. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. "Just looking out for us, babe." It was sweet. My dad, who had always been a little emotionally distant, was making an effort for Liam. For times us asterisk. I felt a warmth spread through my chest. But the calls kept coming. 2-3 times a week. Always when I was around, but always taken in private. The excuses started to feel a little thin. They were discussing catering. They were coordinating a surprise for my mom's birthday, which was 6 months away. They were debating the pros and cons of different floral arrangements. One Saturday, I was at my parents' house for our weekly dinner. Liam was running late. I found my dad in his garage polishing his ridiculous Ford F-250. So I said, leaning against the workbench, "You and Liam seem to be getting along. You guys talk more than me and Mom do." He didn't look up from his truck, just kept buffing a spot on the hood. He's a good kid. Asks for a lot of advice. About what? The wedding seems to be the only thing on his mind. That and other things, he said vaguely. Financial planning. Guy stuff. Financial planning, I frowned. He told me you were helping him pick a DJ. My dad stopped polishing for a split second. His hand froze over the chrome. Then he continued his movements smooth again. That too. Multitasking. He finally looked at me, his eyes unreadable. "Don't worry so much, Amelia. We're just making sure everything's perfect for you." That should have been it. That should have been the klaxon alarm, the giant flashing neon sign. The stories didn't match. It was a small thing, a tiny discrepancy, but it was there. Instead, I swallowed it. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself this was what a happy, functional family looked like. My dad was finally bonding with the man I was going to marry. This was a good thing. The escalation was subtle. Liam started guarding his phone like it was a state secret. He'd angle the screen away from me when a text came in. He changed his passcode. "Why'd you change your passcode?" I asked casually one night as we were watching TV. "New security feature on the update," he said, not taking his eyes off the screen. "Does it automatically?" It was such a blatant lie, but I let it go. Arguing about it felt crazy. I'd sound like a jealous, paranoid shrew. Asterisk. He's talking to my dad, for God's sake. What could I possibly accuse him of? Asterisk. The final red flag came last Tuesday. I'd just gotten out of the shower. Liam was in the living room on the phone. I heard his voice low and urgent. "No, she has no idea. We have to be more careful, Ben." Ben. He called my dad Ben. I froze towel, clutched to my chest. My heart started hammering. He must have heard the water shut off because his tone changed instantly, becoming light and cheerful. "Okay, great. Sounds like a plan. Talk soon, man. Bye." He hung up just as I walked into the room. He looked up at me, his smile a little too wide. "Hey, you." "Who was that?" I asked, my voice tight. "Your dad," he said, "easy as anything." "Finalizing the plans for your mom's surprise party?" "My mom's birthday isn't for months." He's an early planner. Wants to book the venue before it fills up. He stood up and walked toward me, trying to pull me into a hug. "You're tense. Long day." I let him hold me, but my body was stiff. The lie was so smooth, so practiced. For the first time, a cold, terrifying thought wormed its way into my brain, a thought so monstrous I immediately pushed it away. It wasn't possible. It was sick. I was losing my mind. That brings me to today. This morning was normal. Chaotic, but normal. I kissed Liam goodbye as he was heading out the door. "Have a good day," I said. "Love you." "Love you more," he'd replied, his standard response. Work was a nightmare. A huge presentation I'd been working on for weeks was today at 2 p.m. At noon, I sat down to do one final review, and my blood ran cold. The final printed proposal, the one with all the sealed cost analyses, wasn't in my briefcase. It was sitting on the corner of my desk. At home. Shit. Shit. I called my boss, stammering apologies. "I am so sorry, Mark. I have to run home. I'll be back in 45 minutes tops. I swear." He was pissed, but he agreed. I broke every speed limit on the way home, my anxiety, a hot knot in my stomach. I just needed to get in, get the folder, and get out. My career depended on it. I squealed into my driveway, my tires crunching on the gravel, and slammed the car into park. That's when I saw it. Parked on the street right in front of our walkway was my dad's truck. The F-250. Polished to a mirror shine. My first thought was confusion. Asterisk. What is he doing here in the middle of a workday? Asterisk. My second was rationalization. Asterisk. He must be dropping something off. Or maybe he and Liam are meeting here to work on that surprise. Asterisk. I grabbed my keys and ran to the front door, my heels clacking on the pavement. I burst inside, breathless. "Liam," I called out. "Dad, I'm home. Just forgot something for work." Silence. The house was dead quiet. A weird, heavy stillness hung in the air. I kicked off my heels and walked toward the stairs. That's when I saw the first piece. His work jacket, the gray one I bought him for Christmas, slung carelessly over the banister. Odd. He was meticulous about hanging it in the closet. I took another step up. On the third stair, his blue button-down shirt lay in a heap. Unbuttoned. My breath caught in my throat. I kept climbing my feet, moving as if in a trance. On the landing, a pair of dark jeans. His. And next to them, a silk blouse. Mine. The one I'd laid out to wear tomorrow. My heart felt like it was going to beat its way out of my ribs. My vision started to tunnel. I reached the top of the stairs and saw the final piece of the trail. A brown leather belt, his belt lying unbuckled and coiled like a snake. Right in front of my bedroom door. Our bedroom door. Which was closed. And that's when I heard it. A sound. From inside. It wasn't a voice. It was a low moan followed by the soft, rhythmic creak of our bed frame. My bed frame. My bed. A guttural sound of revulsion clawed its way up my throat. My blood turned to ice water. Every red flag, every lie, every private phone call slammed into me at once. Asterisk. We have to be more careful, Ben. Asterisk. My hand trembling reached for the cold brass doorknob. I turned the knob. The click was deafening in the silent house. The door swung inward on silent hinges. My mind didn't process it as a single image. It was a series of horrifying snapshots. White sheets tangled. A man's bare back tanned and freckled in the midday light slanting through the blinds. A mess of blonde hair, Liam's hair pressed against the pillow. And under him, pale legs. Wrapped around his waist feet. With neatly painted red toenails digging into the small of his back. My mother's favorite shade of red. Worn by him. By my father. My vision went sharp and narrow like looking through a camera lens. The sounds of my own ragged breathing filled my ears, loud and alien. They hadn't noticed me yet. They were lost in their own grotesque world. Something inside me snapped. The hot, messy grief I should have felt was instantly cauterized by a cold, crystalline rage. My body moved on autopilot. I slid my phone from my back pocket, my thumb swiping across the screen with a steadiness that didn't feel like my own. I opened the camera, switched it to video, and pressed the red circle. I didn't say a word. I just stood in the doorway filming. The phone was a rock in my shaking hands. It was Liam who saw me first. His eyes, hazy with pleasure, drifted toward the door. They widened. All the color drained from his face, leaving behind a pasty, horrified mask. He froze a statue of shame. His stillness alerted my father. Ben turned his head, a question forming on his lips. Then he saw me. He saw the phone. Panic, pure and animal, contorted his features. He scrambled off the bed, a graceless tangle of limbs, fumbling for the sheet to cover himself. Amelia, he choked out his voice, a pathetic croak. It's not what it looks like. Get dressed, I said. My voice was flat. Dead. Liam was already pulling on his boxers, his movements jerky and panicked. He wouldn't look at me. He just kept muttering, "Oh God. Oh my God, Amelia." My father, however, took a step toward me. He was still half naked, a pathetic aging man trying to reclaim some authority. "Give me the phone, Amelia." Now. I didn't move. I just kept recording. He lunged. It was a clumsy, desperate movement. His hand shot out to snatch the phone from my grasp. Instinct took over. I dropped my left shoulder, pivoted, and threw my entire body weight into a right hook. My knuckles connected with his jaw. There was a sickening, wet crack. Not a movie sound effect. A real visceral crunch of bone and cartilage. He staggered back his hand, flying to his face, his eyes wide with shock and pain. A dark red bloom of blood welled up from his lip. I lowered my fist, my knuckles screaming. "Don't you ever fucking touch me again." I stopped the recording, the little click echoing in the suddenly silent room. I held the phone up so they could both see the screen. You have until I get home from work. I want every single one of your things out of my house, Liam. And you, I said, my gaze shifting to the bleeding man by my bed, you will never speak to me again. I turned to Liam, his face ashen. It's over. Then I looked at them both, two pathetic, naked figures in the ruins of my life. If either of you are here when I get back, or if I ever hear from you again, this video goes to everyone. Mom. Grandma. Your boss, Dad. The whole goddamn world. I turned, walked out of the room, and closed the door behind me. I didn't run. I walked down the stairs, picked up my heels, retrieved the proposal from my desk, and left. I didn't even slam the door. The presentation was a blur. I went back to the office, my hand wrapped in ice from the break room freezer, and delivered the pitch of my life. The numbers flowed, the projections made sense. I was a machine. As soon as it was over, I walked out, ignoring my boss's call. My phone buzzed again. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. I knew where they would have gone. Straight to her. To spin their story first. I drove to my parents' house, the house I grew up in. Ben's truck was gone. Liam's car was parked out front. Cowards running to mommy. I used my key and walked in. They were in the kitchen. My mother, Rachel, stood with her arms crossed, her face a mask of fury. Liam stood beside her, looking pale and supportive. My father was nowhere to be seen. There you are, my mother snapped, her voice dripping with venom. I cannot believe you. You have no idea what you're talking about, I said, my voice level. Don't I? She sneered. Liam told me everything. How you've been unstable, paranoid. How you flew into a rage and assaulted your father when he tried to break up your fight. I looked at Liam. He flinched, unable to meet my eyes. The lie was so perfect, so insidious. It painted me as the hysterical woman, the abuser. A fight, I asked, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Is that what he called it? He has a broken tooth, Amelia. He's at the emergency dentist right now because his own daughter punched him in the face. What is wrong with you? My heart, which I thought had already been shattered, broke all over again. She hadn't even asked for my side. She just took their word. Of course she did. You're right, I said softly. You don't believe me. I pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over the video. I looked at my mother, her face flushed with righteous anger on behalf of the men who had just destroyed me. I looked at Liam, the man I was going to marry, hiding behind her like a child. I pressed send. I addressed it only to her. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, annoyed. I don't have time for... Watch it, I commanded. Her brow furrowed in irritation. She picked up the phone and tapped the screen. The video started to play. Silent at first. Just the image of my sunlit bedroom. Then the figures on the bed came into focus. Her breath hitched. The color drained from her face. I watched her eyes widen in dawning, sickening comprehension. The phone slipped from her suddenly numb fingers, clattering onto the granite countertop, the tinny sound of moans still playing from its tiny speaker. She looked at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. No sound came out. Horror and shame warred in her eyes. I'm done, I said, my voice empty of all emotion. With him. With you. With all of it. I walked to the kitchen junk drawer and pulled out the spare key to my house. I tossed it onto the counter next to her phone. Give that to your husband. I'm changing the locks. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. When I got home, Liam's car was gone. Inside, it was a mess. Drawers were pulled out, closet doors hung open. He'd taken his clothes, his laptop, his toiletries. A panicked, sloppy evacuation. He'd left behind 7 years of photos, gifts, and memories. I found a box of black trash bags under the sink. I started in the living room. The framed photo of us in Paris went in first. The ugly throw blanket he loved. The books he'd left on the coffee table. I worked with a methodical, detached efficiency. His side of the closet. His things in the bathroom. Every trace of him bagged up like garbage. I saved the bedroom for last. I stripped the sheets, the duvet, the pillowcases, and stuffed them all into a bag. I would burn them later. I stood in the middle of the empty room, the setting sun casting long shadows on the floor. It was over. All of it. My engagement. My family. My life as I knew it. And in the deafening silence for the first time all day, I finally let myself cry.
Story 3. I'm 30M. She's 28F. We'd been together almost 3 years, living together for 1. On paper, we were stable. In reality, I'd been slowly shrinking to fit into whatever version of me she tolerated that week. I asked her what she meant. She shrugged. I don't know. I just feel like I settled. Like I could have done better if I waited. Then she smiled. Like she'd said something insightful. That was the moment everything went quiet in my head. Not sad. Not angry. Just still. I nodded and said, "You're right." That caught her off guard. She laughed, a sharp little laugh. "Wait, what?" "You're right," I repeated. "You probably shouldn't have chosen me." She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, don't be dramatic. I'm just being honest. You're so sensitive." There it was. The dismissal. The rewrite. Suddenly, I was the problem for reacting at all. She went back to her phone. Conversation over in her mind. I stood there for another second, then went to the bedroom and lay down staring at the ceiling. That was the night I stopped trying to convince her of my worth. I didn't tell her I was done. I didn't argue. I didn't threaten to leave. I just started planning. Quietly. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. That was always her thing. Say something cutting. Let it hang in the air. Then move on like it was my job to forget it. She hummed while making coffee. Complained about traffic. Asked if I could Venmo her for dinner she paid for last time. I did. I started noticing patterns after that night. Not because they were new, but because I'd stopped making excuses for them. The way she corrected me in front of friends. The way she joked about my job like it was a phase. The way she compared me to other guys and called it motivation. That afternoon, she texted me while I was at work. "Can you be home earlier? I don't feel like cooking." "No, please." No question mark. I replied, "Probably late tonight." She sent back a thumbs down emoji. That was it. That night, instead of rushing home, I stayed late. Not to impress anyone. Not to avoid her. I stayed because I realized something uncomfortable. When I wasn't around her, I felt lighter. More focused. More like myself. Over the next few weeks, I changed quietly. I stopped sharing ideas with her. Stopped asking for her opinion. Stopped explaining myself. She noticed, but not in the way you'd hope. "You've been really distant," she said one night, annoyed. "What? Are you mad or something?" "No," I said honestly. "Just busy." She scoffed. Must be nice to suddenly care about work. That comment stuck with me. So I leaned into it. I started waking up earlier. Took on extra projects. Signed up for a certification I'd been putting off because she said it was pointless. I stopped going out on weeknights. Started saving money she never knew about. She complained, of course. You're boring now. You never want to do anything. You're acting like you're better than me. I didn't argue. Because every insult was confirmation. She thought I was shrinking away from her. In reality, I was building something she wasn't invited to. And the best part? She never saw it coming. About a month in, she started getting meaner. Not louder. Not explosive. Mean in that precise, quiet way that's meant to remind you where you stand. It started with comments disguised as jokes. "Oh wow," she said one night while watching TV, eyes flicking to my laptop. "Still working? Must be nice pretending you're important." I didn't look up. Deadlines are deadlines. She snorted. "Sure. Just don't forget who you are when this little productivity phase ends." That phrase, "who you are," used to mess with my head. Like my identity was something fragile she had to keep in check. She hated that it wasn't working anymore. A week later, we went to a small get-together with her friends. The kind where people pretend not to compare lives while doing exactly that. One of her friends asked what I'd been up to lately. Before I could answer, my girlfriend cut in. "He's been really into work," she said, rolling her eyes. Like it's his whole personality now. Her friends laughed politely. I smiled and took a sip of my drink. Inside, something locked into place. On the drive home, she went off. "You embarrass me back there." I glanced at her. "By existing?" "No," she snapped. "By acting like you're suddenly going somewhere. Don't get ahead of yourself." That one was new. I pulled into the parking lot and turned off the engine. The silence stretched. "You know," she continued, voice sharp, "confidence looks bad on you. It doesn't suit you." I nodded slowly. "Good to know." She frowned. "Why are you being weird?" "I'm not," I said. "I'm listening." That shut her up. Later that night, while she slept, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open and a notebook beside it. I wrote goals, numbers, timelines, things I'd never allowed myself to plan because she'd always laughed at ambition that wasn't hers. I didn't hate her. I didn't want revenge. I just stopped needing her approval. And that scared her more than any argument ever could. By the second month, she stopped hiding her contempt. She didn't yell. She didn't threaten to leave. She did something worse. She started acting like I was already beneath her. If I came home late, she'd say, "Must be nice playing businessman while I actually have a life." If I dressed better for work, she'd smirk and ask, "Who are you trying to impress?" One night, while folding laundry, she held up one of my shirts like it offended her personally. "You know," she said, "I always thought I'd end up with someone bigger, more impressive. Sometimes I feel like I wasted my prime years." I kept folding socks. She waited for a reaction. When none came, she added, sharper, "Does that not bother you?" I looked at her and said calmly, "You already told me you regret choosing me." This is just details. Her mouth opened, then closed. You're impossible lately, she snapped. You used to care. I did care. That was the problem. What she didn't know was that every extra hour I worked was compounding. My boss noticed. Then his boss noticed. I was being trusted with things I'd never been trusted with before. Projects. Decisions. Money. Meanwhile, at home, she complained nonstop. You're boring now. You never take me anywhere. You're obsessed with work because you're insecure. The irony almost made me laugh. One night she accused me outright. You think you're better than me now, don't you? I shook my head. No. I just stopped believing I'm worse. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. That was when she started picking fights over nothing. Dishes. Tone. Timing. Anything to get a reaction. Anything to pull me back into the old dynamic where she mattered more. But I was already gone in ways she couldn't touch. I started moving money into a separate account. Started making plans that didn't include her calendar. Started imagining a future that didn't feel small. She still thought she had the upper hand. She had no idea she was already losing access to the version of me she controlled. And once that version is gone, it never comes back. The third month was when she started sensing she was losing control. Not consciously. Not intelligently. Just that gut feeling people get when the dynamic they rely on starts slipping. She began testing me. If you really cared, she said one night, arms crossed, you wouldn't work so late. I didn't look up from my laptop. I do care. About my future. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. Your future? With what exactly? You're acting like you're about to become someone. That was her favorite insult. Someone. As if I was currently nobody. She started accusing me of things out of nowhere. You're cheating, aren't you? You're hiding money. You think you're too good for me now. Projection wrapped in paranoia. I stayed calm. That made her angrier than yelling ever could. One Friday night, she snapped. We were supposed to go out with her friends. I canceled last minute because I had a deadline. You always choose work over me, she said, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I don't even recognize you anymore. I met her eyes. That might be a good thing. She went quiet. Then cruel. Just don't forget, she said slowly. Without me, you'd still be invisible. That one stayed with me. Not because it hurt, but because it clarified everything. That weekend, I didn't go out. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I worked. I planned. I finished a proposal that would change my career trajectory entirely. Monday morning, my boss called me into his office. By Friday, I had a new title. A raise she would have bragged about if it belonged to her. Stock options. Responsibility. Momentum. I didn't tell her. That night, she complained about money like always. About how she deserved more. About how her life felt stuck. I listened quietly, realizing she had no idea she was talking to someone who had already moved on. She thought I was neglecting her. In reality, I was outgrowing her. And she still believed she was the one doing the choosing. The promotion became official 2 weeks later. New role. Bigger scope. Real money. The kind of step that quietly rewrites the trajectory of your life if you don't screw it up. I still didn't tell her. Not out of spite. Out of instinct. Something in me knew the moment I said it out loud, she'd either belittle it, take credit for it, or start planning how it benefited her. I wasn't ready to hand that over. She noticed the changes anyway. The earlier mornings. The later nights. The way I dressed better without asking her opinion. The way I stopped reacting when she tried to provoke me. "You're being secretive," she accused one night, sitting on the couch with her arms folded. "What are you hiding?" I thought about the truth and decided she hadn't earned it. "Nothing important," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "Wow. So now I'm not important?" I shrugged. "You said it first. Months ago." She stared at me like she'd just been slapped. I was joking. "No," I said calmly. "You were honest." That's when she started getting desperate. Suddenly, she wanted date nights again. Suddenly, she wanted reassurance. Suddenly, she'd pick fights and then cry when they didn't work. One night, she snapped completely. "You think you're going to leave me?" she said. Not a question. An accusation. "Don't forget, I was with you before any of this." I looked at her and realized something strange. She was scared. Not of losing me emotionally. Of losing access. "I'm not going anywhere," I said truthfully. She relaxed instantly. What she didn't know was that staying and belonging were no longer the same thing. Over the next few weeks, I quietly prepared. Updated my resume. Built savings. Took meetings she never knew about. I didn't pack a bag. I packed a future. And the more secure I became, the more unbearable I was to her. Because confidence without permission is threatening to someone who survives on control. She still thought she was the prize. She had no idea she was about to be left behind by a version of me she helped create and would never benefit from. The breakup itself was anticlimactic. No shouting. No tears. Just irritation on her side and relief on mine. It happened on a Thursday night. She was complaining about how her life felt stagnant, how she deserved more, how nothing exciting ever happened anymore. I was half listening, half responding to an email on my phone. She finally snapped. "Are you even present?" she barked. "Or are you too busy pretending you're important?" I looked up at her and realized I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just done. "I think we should break up," I said. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then laughed. "Oh my God," she said, shaking her head. "You're doing this now? Because you're stressed at work?" "No," I said. "Because you regret choosing me. I finally agree with you." Her smile vanished. "You don't mean that," she said sharply. "You wouldn't survive without me." That line would have crushed me once. Now it just sounded outdated. "I already am," I replied. She got nasty fast. "You think anyone better is going to want you? You're average at best. You'll come crawling back when this phase ends." I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stood up, grabbed my jacket, and said, "I'll move my stuff out this weekend." She scoffed. "Good luck." The next morning, she texted like nothing happened. "Can you still cover rent this month?" That told me everything. I moved out quietly. No speeches. No social media posts. Just boxes, trips to storage, and a new apartment closer to work. Smaller, but mine. Weeks passed. Then months. I worked relentlessly. Focused. Clear. The kind of progress that only happens when no one is draining you daily. New role. Bigger income. New circle. New energy. And then, one night, my phone rang. Her name. I answered out of curiosity, not emotion. She was crying. "I didn't think you'd actually be okay without me," she sobbed. I looked across the table at the woman sitting with me, smart, warm, supportive, laughing softly at something on her phone. "I am," I said quietly. And for the first time, I meant it. After that call, I didn't hear from her for a while. Life got quiet. In a good way. I settled into a rhythm I didn't know I was capable of before. Early mornings. Long workdays. Evenings that didn't feel tense or heavy. My career accelerated fast once nothing was holding me back. The proposal I'd worked on got approved. Then expanded. Then funded. I was suddenly in rooms I'd never been invited to before, talking about numbers that used to scare me. I moved into a better place. Nothing flashy. Just clean, calm, intentional. For the first time, my home felt like a recharge instead of a battleground. And yeah, I met someone. Not right away. I wasn't looking. That was the point. She came into my life slowly, naturally. No comparisons. No tests. No comments about how I should be more. She asked about my work and actually listened. She celebrated my wins without trying to attach herself to them. She never once made me feel like I had to earn basic respect. That contrast was jarring. A few weeks later, my ex called again. I didn't answer. She texted instead. "I heard you're doing really well." Funny how that happened after we broke up. There it was. The implication. I didn't reply. She sent another message the next day. "I always believed in you, you know." That one made me laugh out loud. Belief doesn't sound like regret. Belief doesn't sound like settling. Belief doesn't ask, "Why did I choose you?" I blocked her number after that. Not out of anger. Out of closure. Some people don't get access to the finished version when all they did was doubt the draft. Months passed. My life kept expanding. New responsibilities. New confidence. New peace. Then one evening, as I sat across from my new girlfriend, watching the city lights reflect off the window, my phone buzzed from an unknown number. A voicemail. It was her. Crying harder than before. "I messed up," she said through sobs. "I didn't think you'd actually become this. Please just talk to me." I didn't call back. Because the future she was hearing about, I was already living in it. And she wasn't part of the picture anymore. I found out how bad things had gotten for her through someone else. A mutual friend ran into me at a bar after work. We talked for a bit, caught up, did the polite life update thing. Then he hesitated before saying, "Hey, I don't know if I should tell you this, but she's not doing great." I shrugged. I figured. Apparently, after I moved out, things unraveled fast. She couldn't afford her place on her own. Had to downsize. Then move again. Her job situation wasn't stable. And without someone covering the gaps, everything felt heavier. According to him, she talked about me constantly. About how I changed. About how I abandoned her. Right when I started doing well. That part made me laugh. It's funny how growth looks like betrayal to people who benefited from your stagnation. A few nights later, she called again from another new number. I almost didn't answer. Curiosity got the better of me. She was crying immediately. "I don't understand," she said between sobs. "You weren't supposed to win like this. You were supposed to need me." There it was. The most honest thing she'd ever said to me. "I never needed you," I replied quietly. "I just thought I did." She begged then. Not subtly. Not gracefully. She talked about memories, inside jokes, how no one knew her like I did. How she could do things differently now. I looked across the room at my new girlfriend curled up on the couch, reading, completely at ease in my presence. No tension. No power games. Just peace. "I believe you could be different," I said. "I just don't need to be there to see it." That broke her. She accused me of showing off. Of rubbing my success in her face. Of replacing her too fast. I didn't defend myself. Because the truth was simple. I didn't replace her. I replaced the version of myself that thought love had to hurt. She hung up on me. This time, I blocked every number. Some doors don't need closure. They just need to stay closed. The last time I heard her voice wasn't through my phone. It was at a coffee shop near my office, months after everything ended. I was there with my new girlfriend, grabbing drinks before heading out for a weekend trip. We were laughing about something small and stupid when I felt that familiar prickle. The sense of being watched. I looked up and there she was. Standing in line. Same posture. Same face. But none of the certainty she used to wear so easily. When our eyes met, she froze like she'd been caught somewhere she didn't belong. She walked over anyway. "Wow," she said, forcing a smile. "You look different." I smiled back. "Yeah. Life's been good." Her eyes flicked to the woman beside me. My girlfriend didn't tense. Didn't compete. Just smiled politely and kept sipping her coffee. That alone said everything. My ex swallowed. "I didn't think you'd actually move on like this." I almost laughed. Not out loud, but internally. Because for so long, she thought I existed in relation to her. That my progress was hypothetical without her approval. "I didn't move on like this," I said calmly. "I moved on from you." She flinched. There was a long pause before she asked the question she'd been circling for months. Do you ever think, if I hadn't said those things, we'd still be together? I thought about the kitchen. Her voice. Every time I look at you, I wonder why I chose you. No, I said honestly. Because you didn't say them once. You believed them. She nodded slowly, tears welling up but never falling. For the first time, she didn't argue. She didn't minimize. She didn't insult. She just whispered, I didn't think you'd become this without me. I met her eyes. Neither did I. We said goodbye. Simple. Final. As we walked out, my girlfriend slipped her hand into mine. Warm and steady. No doubts. No tests. No conditions. And I realized something important. Some people are only meant to know the version of you that hasn't figured things out yet. The moment you do, they lose access forever. Bye-bye.
Story 4.
The first week was fine. Sort of. Having my daughter Madison back home felt right. She's only 20 and holding her baby girl, my granddaughter Lily, just felt like the proper order of things. A house is supposed to have a baby in it sometimes. But our house had forgotten the language of newborns. It only spoke Ryan. Ryan is 11. He operates at 2 speeds, asleep and tornado. He's got ADHD that his doctor calls profound. I just call it Ryan. It's the way his brain is wired. He's not a bad kid. He's a good kid in a body that won't stop moving, with a mouth that won't stop talking, and a mind that ricochets from one thought to the next like a bullet in a tin can. The first incident was predictable. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Madison shuffled in her face pale and her eyes looking like 2 burnt holes in a blanket. Dad. Her voice was a rasp. You have to talk to him. Talk to who? What's wrong? Ryan, she said, her voice cracking. He just barreled into my room screaming about some new skin he got on Fortnite. Lily was finally asleep. Asterisk. Finally, asterisk. I sighed. I could already picture it. Ryan vibrating with an excitement he physically couldn't contain, forgetting everything else in the universe, except that one glorious singular thought he needed to share. Time's right now. Asterisk. Okay, Maddie. I'll talk to him. She just stared at me, her arms crossed tight over a milk-stained t-shirt. A talk isn't going to do anything. He needs a consequence. I'll handle it. I found Ryan in his room, headphones on, body contorting as he dodged imaginary laser fire. I tapped his shoulder. He ripped the headphones off. Dad, you should have seen it. I got the last guy with a no-scope from the top of the tower. It was insane. That's great, buddy. Hey, listen. You gotta remember to be quiet. Your niece is sleeping and you woke her up. His face fell for a second. Genuine remorse flickered in his eyes. Oh. I forgot. Sorry. It's okay. Just try to remember, all right? Knock first. Quietly. Okay, Dad. I will. He put his headphones back on, and the world outside of his screen immediately ceased to exist again. I went back downstairs. Madison was waiting, leaning against the counter, her expression unchanged. I talked to him. I said, pouring my coffee? And he said he's sorry. He forgot. Madison let out a laugh that was sharp and humorless. He forgot. Of course he forgot. He's always going to forget, Dad. That's the problem. Madison, what do you want from me? I said, my own patience starting to fray. He has ADHD. His brain doesn't work like yours. He can't help how he behaves. It's not malicious. You of all people should know that. I'm not saying it's malicious, she shot back, her voice rising. I'm saying it's disruptive. I'm saying I haven't slept more than 90 minutes at a stretch in 2 weeks, and every time I get her down, he blows it up. I need your help. I need you to be a parent. The jab landed. I am being a parent. To both of my kids. That includes the one who needs a little more understanding. He's your brother. Cut him some slack. She just shook her head, a tear of pure exhaustion rolling down her cheek. Just try to keep him away from my door. Please. I tried. God, I tried. But telling Ryan to be quiet is like telling the ocean not to have waves. For the next week, it was a constant battle. Ryan, indoor voice. Ryan, stop running in the hall. Ryan, for the love of God, don't slam the door. Each time he'd give me that same look of brief, sincere regret. Sorry, Dad. And 5 minutes later, he'd be bouncing off the walls again, the promise vaporized by the next impulse. Madison started putting a chair under her doorknob. It didn't work. Ryan, thinking the door was just stuck, would jiggle and yank it until the chair scraped across the floor with a screech that was worse than him just opening it. Or he'd just bang on the wood. Maddie, you in there? The internet's down. The noise always woke the baby. The house grew thick with the tension you could taste. Madison stopped talking to me, communicating only in sharp, single-word answers. She looked haunted. Lily was always fussy, now overtired and miserable. Her cries were a constant grating soundtrack in the background of our lives. I felt Madison's anger radiating through the floorboards. And it made me angry too. I was doing my best. I was juggling a sleep-deprived daughter with a newborn and a special needs son. Why couldn't she see I was on her side, on both her sides? She was making it seem like I had to choose. This afternoon, a miracle happened. Silence. Lily had been screaming for 3 solid hours. A painful, colicky shriek that felt like it was drilling into my skull. I watched Madison pace the living room with her bouncing, shushing her face, a mask of desperation. Finally, around 4 o'clock, the crying stopped. Madison stood frozen in the middle of the room for a full minute listening. Then she crept up the stairs with the stealth of a bomb squad technician. I sank into the recliner, the sudden quiet roaring in my ears. I turned on the TV, keeping the volume on a whisper. Ryan was in his room, hopefully engrossed in his game. For the first time all day, I felt my shoulders unclench. Maybe we'd turned a corner. Maybe things would be okay. I closed my eyes just for a second, soaking in the peace. That's when I heard it. A loud, triumphant shout from upstairs. Yes, level up! It was Ryan. His voice, unfiltered and explosive, echoed through the quiet house. It was followed a half-second later by a sound that made every nerve in my body stand on end. The frantic, piercing wail of a startled baby. But there was another sound, too. A sound I'd never heard from my daughter before. It wasn't a cry or a complaint. It was a roar. A gut-wrenching scream of pure, spent fury that was more animal than human. Ryan. The sound of her bedroom door slamming open cracked like a gunshot, so hard I felt the vibration through the floor. The baby's cries pitched higher, mingling with Madison's enraged, incoherent shouting. I heard a thud, then a sharp, hurt yelp from my son. My blood ran cold. I dropped the remote and launched myself out of the chair, my heart pounding against my ribs as I took the stairs 2 at a time. I got to the top of the stairs just as Madison lunged, not at Ryan, but at her own bedroom door, slamming it shut. Ryan was on the floor in the hallway, curled up and sobbing. The baby's screams were now muffled, a desperate, frantic sound from behind the closed door. What the hell did you do? I bellowed at the door. I knelt beside Ryan, putting my hands on his shaking shoulders. Buddy, are you okay? Did she push you? He looked up at me, his face red and streaked with tears. I just wanted to tell her about the V-Bucks I earned. I forgot to knock. The door flew open again. Madison stood there, a wild look in her eyes. She wasn't holding Lily. He didn't forget to knock, Dad. He forgot he was a person. He kicked the door open because the chair was under the knob and screamed in his loudest voice 2 feet from her bassinet. On purpose. It wasn't on purpose, Ryan wailed. It was an accident. I stood up, putting myself between Madison and my son. I pointed a finger at her. I don't care what he did. Look at him. There's no excuse for making your brother cry like that. None. Her mouth fell open. It was a look of pure, unadulterated disbelief. No excuse. Are you listening to yourself? He's a little terror he needs to learn, but you won't ever teach him because it's easier to just let him run wild and call it ADHD. Don't you dare, I said, my voice dangerously low. Don't you dare use his condition against him. You have no idea what it's like for him, the battles he fights in his own head every single second. And you have no idea what it's like for me, she screamed, tears finally breaking free and carving paths through her makeup. I'm drowning, Dad, and instead of throwing me a life raft, you're holding my head underwater to make sure your precious son doesn't get his feet wet. That's when I snapped. The exhaustion, the constant noise, her ingratitude, it all boiled over. My precious son, you mean the one who was here long before you decided to show up on my doorstep with a baby and nowhere else to go? You knew what this house was like. You knew who Ryan was. If you couldn't handle your brother, maybe you should have thought of that 9 months ago? The words hung in the air, ugly and heavy. The wildness in her eyes died, replaced by something colder, sharper. Something I'd never seen before. So this is a punishment, she said, her voice flat. For needing my father. This isn't a punishment, this is reality. This is my house. Ryan lives here, and I will not have him treated like a villain because his brain is wired differently. If you can't deal with that, I said the final fatal words, tumbling out before I could stop them, then you can get out. For a long moment, she just stared at me. The baby's cries from inside the room were the only sound. Madison didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just nodded, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement. Then she turned, walked back into her room, and closed the door behind her with a soft, final click. I stood in the hallway, my heart hammering. I got Ryan up and took him to his room, told him it wasn't his fault that Maddie was just tired. He sniffled and booted up his game, the crisis already fading from his mind. I went downstairs, my hands still shaking with adrenaline. I felt a surge of righteousness. I had defended my son. The one who couldn't defend himself. Madison was an adult. She'd get over it. She'd realize she was wrong to scream at a kid, her own brother. She'd come down and apologize. I poured a glass of whiskey, sank into my recliner, and waited for the apology that was surely coming. An hour passed. The only sound was the clicking of Ryan's keyboard upstairs. The baby had finally, blessedly gone quiet. Then I heard it. Not shouting, not crying. A different sound. The methodical scrape of a drawer opening. A soft thud. Another drawer. It was the sound of packing. I sat up straight, the whiskey souring in my stomach. She was bluffing. Just trying to make me feel guilty. It was petty. It was manipulative. I wasn't going to fall for it. But the sounds continued. The distinct zip of a duffel bag. The muffled click of hangers being pulled from a closet rod. I went to the bottom of the stairs. Madison, I called up. No answer. Maddie, don't be dramatic. Silence. My righteousness began to curdle into a sick, creeping dread. I walked up the stairs and stood in her open doorway. Suitcases I hadn't seen in years were open on her bed. She was folding tiny onesies and sleepers into neat stacks, her movements calm and deliberate. She didn't look at me. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice weaker than I intended. She picked up a stack of diapers and placed them in a bag. "Madison, stop this. You're overreacting. We can talk about this." She zipped a bag shut and slung it over her shoulder. Then she picked up another. She moved past me out of the room, as if I were a piece of furniture. I followed her downstairs, my feet feeling like lead. She set the bags by the front door. "Where are you going to go?" I demanded. "It's almost dark." "Don't be stupid." She ignored me, heading back upstairs. I heard her moving around, then she came back down holding Lily's car seat in one hand. The baby was asleep inside a tiny, perfect bundle, oblivious. My chest tightened. This wasn't a bluff. "Maddie, please," I said, my voice cracking. "Don't do this." She stopped at the front door and finally looked at me. The coldness in her eyes struck me like a physical blow. All the warmth, all the love, all the history between us, it was gone. Erased? In its place was the cool, polite disinterest you give a stranger who'd held the door for you. "You were right," she said, her voice completely devoid of emotion. "I shouldn't have come here. It was a mistake to think this was a place for her. Or for me." She turned the doorknob. "You made your choice, Dad," she said, not looking back. "You chose who needed you more. Now live with it." Then she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and a moment later I heard the engine of her beat-up Civic turn over. I watched through the window as her taillights disappeared down the street. The house was silent. Utterly, completely silent. Ryan appeared at the top of the stairs, a shadow in the dim hallway light. "Is Maddie gone?" he asked, his voice small. "Is she still mad at me?" I stared at the empty space by the door, where my granddaughter's car seat had been just moments before. I had won. I had protected my son. I had established the rules of my house. And in the crushing, deafening silence, I realized my victory felt exactly like losing everything.
Story 5.
36. A mechanic who owns a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. Steady work, decent money, my own place with a garage out back, and a classic pickup I've restored myself. Nothing extravagant, but it suits me fine. Sophia, 31, is a graphic designer for a big marketing firm in the city. Creative, always dressed in flowing outfits with statement jewelry. Surrounded by friends who talk about design trends and international travel. They were always courteous when I joined them, asking about my shop or the cars I worked on. But I could sense the subtle distance, like I was the outlier in their polished circle. Elena had insisted I come tonight, saying it wouldn't be the same without me, which felt genuine at the time. Now, looking back, maybe it was part of the setup. We'd arrived around 8 p.m. The group of about 10 people already seated at a reserved table with white linens and an elaborate charcuterie spread. I had on my best button-down shirt tucked into dark jeans, boots polished for the occasion. Everyone else was in linen dresses, tailored shirts, or sleek jumpsuits. The kind of effortless elegance that comes from city salaries. Conversation flowed easily at first. Work projects, upcoming vacations, funny stories from a recent group trip to Mexico. Sophia sat next to me, her hand occasionally brushing mine under the table, including me when topics turned my way. I shared a bit about a tricky engine rebuild I just finished on a vintage Mustang, and a few nodded politely, though their eyes glazed over quickly. Dessert came. Some intricate chocolate torte with gold leaf. And that's when Elena stood up, tapping her fork against her Prosecco glass for attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began, her voice carrying that confident tone she always had. "This year has been incredible: new clients, amazing travels, and the best friends anyone could ask for. Smiles all around, glasses raised slightly." She turned toward Sophia, a mischievous glint in her eye. "And Sophia, you've been such an inspiration this year, especially in the relationship department." Sophia tilted her head, smiling curiously. "What do you mean?" Elena laughed lightly, glancing around the table for reactions. "I mean, your whole adventure with branching out, trying something completely outside your usual scene. It's been eye-opening to watch." The table quieted a bit, forks pausing mid-air. My fork hovered over my plate as a knot formed in my gut, but I kept my face steady. "Dating someone from such a different walk of life," Elena continued, gesturing vaguely in my direction without looking right at me. "No shared interests in the arts or culture, different education paths. That whole mechanic versus designer contrast. This really clarified things, hasn't it? Shown exactly what doesn't align long-term." A couple of people shifted uncomfortably. One guy, Marcus, chuckled awkwardly. Another friend, Julia, added softly, "It's brave to explore that, though." Elena nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. Now you know precisely what you do want. Someone who fits seamlessly into your world. It's like a masterclass in self-awareness." The words hung there, the group divided between stunned silence and subtle agreements. Sophia's cheeks flushed deep red, her mouth opening slightly but no words coming out. She stared at her plate, fingers tightening around her glass. No one looked directly at me, but the implication was crystal clear. I'd been the test case, the detour from her norm. Discussed openly like a case study, I set my fork down quietly, reached for my wallet, and pulled out enough cash to cover my share of the meal plus a generous tip. Probably $80 for the steak and drinks. Placed it neatly beside my plate. "This should handle my part," I said calmly, pushing my chair back and standing. "Happy birthday, Elena. Thanks for the insight." I didn't raise my voice or linger, just nodded politely to the table and walked away, down the stairs, past the hostess stand, and out into the cool night air. My pickup was parked a block away. I got in, started the engine, and drove home without rushing. The city lights blurred a little as the reality sank in. 11 months of building something I thought was solid, only to realize I'd been viewed as an exploratory phase, and my phone buzzed almost immediately. Sophia calling. I let it ring out. Then a text. "Alex, please don't go like that. Elena didn't mean it that way." Another call. I declined and kept driving. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the messages were piling up. She was just tipsy and projecting her own breakup drama. "Everyone agrees it was awful. Please pick up. We can talk this through," but I ignored them all. Went inside, poured a glass of whiskey, and sat on the back porch staring at the garage lights. All those small moments I dismissed came flooding back. The time at an art opening when one of her friends asked if I'd ever considered elevating my career beyond fixing cars. The group chat jokes about me being the rugged contrast to their aesthetic. Sophia gently suggesting I try some modern art books to broaden horizons. I'd laughed them off, thinking it was just different worlds colliding harmlessly. Around midnight, I heard tires on gravel. Looked out the window, Sophia's sleek hybrid parked out front. She knocked softly at first, then more insistently. "Alex, I know you're home. Please, just open the door." I stayed silent, lights off in the living room. She waited on the porch for 20 minutes, then sat in her car another half hour before finally leaving. Next morning, a bouquet of lilies appeared on my doorstep with a card. "I'm so sorry. What we have is real. Don't let one stupid comment ruin it." I dropped them straight into the trash bin. 2 days later, things escalated. I was under a lifted SUV at the shop, diagnosing a transmission issue, when my lead tech, Carlos, poked his head in. "Boss, there's a lady out front asking for you. Says it's personal." Wiping grease off my hands, I stepped out to see Sophia standing by the open bay door in her work attire, looking composed but anxious. "You shouldn't come here," I said, keeping my voice low so the guys wouldn't overhear too much. "Just 5 minutes, Alex. Please." She clasped her hands together. Elena crossed a line, and I've already told her she's out of line completely. "When did you tell her that?" "Because at the table you said nothing." I froze. I couldn't process it fast enough. She blindsided everyone. Blindsided you with something you'd apparently discussed before. The words came out even, no yelling. A couple customers glanced over curiously. "That's not true." "Alex, you know I adore you. I know how your circle sees me. And I know silence when something hurtful is said about me means agreement." She glanced around, noticing the subtle attention from my team. "Please, let's meet tonight, dinner, coffee, anything. I don't want to lose this. There's nothing left to lose." I turned and walked back into the shop. She lingered for a bit before driving off. That evening brought a new tactic. My phone rang with an unknown number. Turned out to be Sophia's brother, Derek, whom I'd met at a few family barbecues. He was always straightforward. "Alex, man." Sophia filled me in on the birthday mess. "That was messed up what her friend said. Appreciate you saying that. She's devastated. Hasn't stopped talking about how much she screwed up by not speaking up. I'm sorry she's upset, but this isn't fixable with apologies now. Look, I get it, but my sister really cares. She's not the type to play games." Her friend described our relationship as an adventure in branching out to figure out what doesn't fit. And she sat there. Long pause on his end. "You think she sees you that way?" I think her silence confirmed it. Different worlds are fine if both people bridge them equally. This felt one-sided. He tried a few more angles, but I held firm. Ended the call politely. The next afternoon, my phone lit up again, this time my sister Lisa. "Alex, what the hell is going on? Your girlfriend just called me crying." "Ex-girlfriend. She said you two had a big misunderstanding and asked if I'd talk sense into you. Said she found my number through your shop's website contact form or something." That's persistent. I told her family stays out of this stuff, but she sounded desperate. What happened? I gave her the rundown. The speech, the lack of defense, the pattern of subtle digs I'd ignored. Wait. Her friend basically called you a trial run in front of everyone. Pretty much. And she didn't shut it down? Nope. Then good riddance. You deserve someone who brags about you, not someone embarrassed when their friends point out differences. We talked a while longer. Her support helped solidify things. Later that day, a text from Sophia's phone. "This is Elena. I borrowed it because I know you'd block mine. I owe you the biggest apology. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won." What she said was unforgivable. I was drinking and dealing with my own recent split. Projecting hard. Doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. I've spoken to Sophia. She's heartbroken. She talks about you all the time, how grounded you make her feel. Then why the speech? I twisted something she'd mentioned once in passing about navigating different backgrounds. It wasn't how she truly saw things. So she'd used those words before. Not exactly like that. Look, we're a pretentious bunch sometimes, used to our bubble. But Sophia stepped outside it because she wanted you. Not as an experiment. The conversation dragged on. She admitted to snobbery in their group, but insisted Sophia's feelings were real. It planted a tiny seed of doubt. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe one drunk rant didn't define everything. A week passed with no contact from me. I threw myself into work. Long days restoring a 67 Camaro for a client. Evenings tinkering in my own garage. Memories kept surfacing, though. Like 3 weeks ago when Sophia suggested a weekend at an exclusive coastal art retreat. When I mentioned the cost, she offered to cover most of it, saying casually, "I know the shop has variable income." I'd taken it as thoughtful. Now it felt like accommodation for my level. Or at her firm's holiday party last month, when a colleague joked about designers dating real-world guys for inspiration. She laughed it off nervously, steering conversation away instead of correcting him. 2 months back, she'd forwarded me listings for vocational management courses, saying gently, "If you ever wanted to grow the business bigger, these could help." I'd said I was content running things hands-on. She'd nodded but looked disappointed. Patterns I'd excused as caring now looked like quiet reshaping. Finally, I decided clarity was needed. Called her from the shop during a slow afternoon. "Alex." Her voice cracked with hope. "Thank you for calling. Sophia, I've thought it through. We're finished." "No. Please hear me out. I am. You say you care. But when it mattered most, you stayed quiet while I was reduced to a lesson in incompatibility. I was stunned. I should have jumped in immediately. I've regretted it every second. Regret now doesn't erase the moment. And it doesn't erase the buildup. I'll cut ties with anyone who disrespects you. Elena's already on thin ice. It's not just her. It's the hesitation I saw in you too. She pleaded for another chance. Dinner, therapy, even meeting her parents sooner than planned. I stayed firm. That evening she appeared at my door, eyes puffy, holding a small sketchbook. I made this for you. Designs inspired by your shop. The cars you love. I took it but didn't open it. Sophia, one honest question. Anything. Before Elena's speech. Did you ever view dating me as stepping outside your comfort zone in a way that implied I was less aligned with your usual standards? She hesitated, eyes dropping. Early on, I wondered if our differences would work long-term. The lifestyles, interests. So yes. But that changed. I fell for who you are. Yet the wondering was there. You saw the gap and hoped it'd close. It's not like that. It is. You needed confirmation of what fit your world perfectly. I was the contrast that highlighted it. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Find someone who never has to wonder. Someone who fits from the start without needing proof. I closed the door gently. No more visits, no more messages. Peace settled in. A few days later, grabbing beers with my buddy Ryan, who runs a welding business nearby, I recounted everything. Brother, I hate to say it, but those signs were screaming. She always acted like she was bringing you into her gallery, not meeting you in the middle. You saw it too. Whole crew did. Nice girl, but that superior vibe was there. Like dating you was her authentic experience phase. Hearing it confirmed freed something. I'm good now. Shop's busy. Friends are solid. Life's uncomplicated again. Walking away quietly, covering my tab, refusing the please. That was all the closure needed. Elena's outburst ripped off the Band-Aid, revealing the truth underneath. Sophia learned what she truly wanted. And I learned I won't settle for being anyone's temporary detour. Next time, it'll be with someone who sees being with me as the perfect fit. No contrasts required.
Story 6.
It started at a stupid backyard barbecue. One of Mark's work friends, a guy I'd met maybe twice, cornered me by the beer cooler. Wow, Sandra, he said, his eyes a little too wide. You look incredible. Seriously. Mark, you better put a lock on that. He laughed. I gave a tight-lipped smile, and Mark, who was right behind me, just grunted. It was a dumb, temporary account comment. The kind of thing drunk guys say. I didn't think about it for more than 5 seconds. But someone else did. Chloe. She sidled up to Mark later, a plastic cup of white wine in her hand. I was talking to someone else, but I saw it. The way she put her hand on his arm, her head tilted with that look of manufactured concern she was so good at. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw Mark's shoulders slump. That was the first crack. A few nights later, we were in bed. Mark was staring at the ceiling. "Do you still think I'm handsome?" he asked. His voice was small. I turned over. "What? Of course I do." "Don't be ridiculous." "No, I mean really. Be honest." "Mark, I married you. I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed. You're stuck with me thinking you're handsome forever." He didn't laugh. He just kept staring at the ceiling. "Okay," he whispered. The questions started coming every few days. At first they were about him. "Do you think I'm getting boring? Would you tell me if I let myself go?" I'd answer them a little annoyed, but I chalked it up to him hitting his late 30s. A mini crisis. Then the questions turned to me. "You seem to have a really good time talking to that new guy at your office party," he'd say while I was brushing my teeth. "His name is Ben? He's gay, Mark? Oh. Right." A pause. "You tell me though, right, if you ever felt a attraction to someone else?" "We've been together for 10 years. Of course I'd tell you if something were wrong." But nothing was wrong. Not with us. Something was wrong with times him asterisk. He grew quiet. He'd sit on the couch, scrolling endlessly on his phone, his face tight with anxiety. He stopped initiating sex. When I tried, he'd either say he was too tired, or he'd be so desperate for me to finish, so needy for the validation that it felt less like making love and more like I was defusing a bomb. He started quoting Chloe. "I was talking to Chloe today," he began, "and she was saying that in most long-term relationships, the initial passion is just a chemical reaction. It's not sustainable. It's naive to think it is." "That sounds incredibly depressing," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "It's not depressing, it's just realistic." She said people who ignore that are the ones who end up getting blindsided by an affair. I finally looked up. "Why are you talking to Chloe about our relationship?" He flinched. "I'm not specifically. We were just talking about psychology. You know how she is." I did know. Chloe was a self-proclaimed expert on everything from polyamory to attachment theory, all gleaned from podcasts and Instagram therapists. She treated relationships like they were complex IKEA furniture that only she had the instructions for. The reassurance he needed became a constant gaping wound. He'd wait until I was half asleep. "Promise me you'll never leave me." "I'm not going anywhere, Mark." "Promise me." "I promise." He'd hold on to that like a life raft, but by the next morning, he'd be drowning again. He started leaving work early, needing to know where I was. He'd call me in the middle of the day just to hear my voice, a frantic edge to his. Our home, my sanctuary, started to feel like a pressure cooker. I was exhausted. I felt like I was managing his emotions, parenting him, and I was starting to resent it. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I got home from the gym and found him sitting on the kitchen floor, his back against the cabinets, just staring into space. "Mark, what's wrong?" He looked up at me, and his face just crumpled. It wasn't just crying. It was a complete breakdown. He was sobbing, huge, ragged gasps for air, his whole body shaking. I'd never seen him like this, not even when his father died. I dropped my gym bag and knelt in front of him. Hey, what is it? Talk to me." It took him a full minute to get the words out between sobs. You're going to leave me." "I know you are." "What are you talking about? Why would you even think that?" "Because it's what happens," he wailed, his voice cracking. Chloe said, "She said a woman like you need more. More excitement. She said, it's not a matter of times, if times, but times when, asterisk." And I'm not enough. I see the way guys look at you and I'm nothing. I felt a cold dread wash over me. This was more than insecurity. This was poison. Someone had poured poison into my husband's ear for weeks, and I just stood by and watched him get sick. I held him, rocking him on the kitchen floor like a child. I told him he was everything, that I loved him, that none of it was true. I got him calmed down, got him a glass of water, and finally got him to go lie down. He fell into a deep, exhausted sleep within minutes. My hands were shaking with rage. I walked into the living room, my mind racing. This wasn't just Chloe being a pseudo-intellectual windbag. This was a targeted attack. But why? I pulled out my phone and called the one person who might have a clue. His sister Liz. "Hey, is everything okay?" She answered, her voice immediately concerned. "No. Liz, something is seriously wrong with Mark. He just had a complete breakdown. He's convinced I'm going to cheat on him and leave him. He keeps quoting Chloe." There was a dead silence on the other end of the line. "Sandra, Liz," finally said, her voice dangerously low. "That bitch." "What do you mean? What do you know?" "She called me last week," Liz said, her words clipped and angry, "to get my perspective. She said she was worried about Mark, that his insecurity was going to push you away. She said she was trying to coach him through it." Coach him? Coach him how? I heard Liz take a deep breath. She told me she had a solution. A way to divorce-proof your marriage. She suggested that you guys should consider an open relationship. The world tilted. She what? She said it would take the pressure off. That if you had an outlet, you wouldn't be tempted to leave him for real. And she offered to help. Help, how I whispered, my stomach churning. She and her boyfriend Alex. They offered to be your first experiment. To create a safe space for you both to explore. Liz's voice was dripping with disgust. She actually said, and I quote, "Alex has always thought Sandra was gorgeous, and Mark needs to feel desired by another woman. It's a win-win." I dropped the phone. It clattered onto the hardwood floor. It all clicked into place. The casual comments. The seeds of doubt. The stoking of his deepest fears. It wasn't about helping us. It was a long, calculated game to get what she wanted. To get her hands on my husband and to offer me up to her partner like a piece of meat. I stood there, frozen in the silence of the house, pressing in on me. Then a primal rage I didn't know I possessed surged through my veins. It was hot and sharp and utterly clarifying. I picked up my phone. Mark was still asleep. Oblivious. My fingers flew across the screen, my thumbs pressing hard into the glass. I sent a text not to Liz, but to the architect of all this misery. To Chloe. "We know what you did. Get over here. Now." The doorbell rang 20 minutes later. Mark was awake by then. I'd gone into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and laid it all out for him. Every single poisonous, calculated word Liz had told me. I watched the confusion on his face curdle into disbelief, then into a deep, gut-wrenching shame. Finally, something else took its place. A cold, hard fury that mirrored my own. It straightened his spine. He followed me to the door, his jaw set. He looked like a man waking from a long, bad dream. I pulled the door open. Chloe stood there, her face a perfect mask of concern. She was holding a bottle of wine, a fucking peace offering. "Sandra, I got your text." "Is everything okay? Is it Mark?" she asked, trying to peer around me. "He's fine," I said, my voice flat. I stepped aside. "He's right here." Mark was standing in the middle of the living room, his arms crossed. He didn't look like the broken man from the kitchen floor. He looked like a husband ready to defend his home. Chloe's mask flickered. A flash of surprise, maybe fear. Oh. Mark. You're up. I was so worried. She stepped inside, placing the wine on our console table as if this were a normal visit. Sandra's texts were so aggressive. I thought something terrible had happened. Something did, Mark said. His voice was gravelly. You happened. She let out a little nervous laugh. What are you talking about? I've been trying to help you. She turned to me. Sandra, he's been in a really bad place. I was just giving him an outside perspective. An outside perspective, I took a step toward her. Or an instruction manual for blowing up my marriage, I spoke to Liz Chloe. The color drained from her face. She knew. She knew exactly what Liz would have told me. The game was up. Liz. She can be dramatic, Chloe stammered, wringing her hands. She must have twisted my words. Did she twist this? Mark asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Did she twist you, telling me for weeks that my wife was going to cheat on me, that it was inevitable, that I wasn't enough for her? I was just trying to prepare you, she insisted, her voice rising. To help you get ahead of the problem. It happens to everyone, Mark. People get bored. Passion fades. It's reality. No, I said, shaking my head. This is reality. You saw a small crack, a stupid comment at a party, and you spent weeks hammering a wedge into it. You preyed on my husband's deepest insecurities. For what? For you, she shrieked, pointing a finger at me. For your marriage, I was offering you a solution, a way to keep your family together. A solution. Mark's laugh was harsh and empty. By sleeping with me, by having your boyfriend sleep with my wife, you call that helping. That's when she finally broke. The mask of the concerned, enlightened friend shattered, and the raw, selfish ambition underneath was hideous. Fine, she spat, her eyes flashing. Yes, is that what you want to hear? I've wanted you for years, Mark. Years. You're kind, and you're stable, and you're handsome, and she doesn't appreciate any of it. She walks around like she's so much better than everyone, and you just follow along like a lost puppy. She wasn't finished. She turned her venom on me. And you, don't pretend you're some saint. Alex has been dying for a chance with you. He thinks you're a goddess. I thought maybe if you got it out of your system with him, you'd finally stop making Mark feel like he's not good enough for you. The audacity was breathtaking. She had created the entire narrative, my boredom, Mark's inadequacy, out of thin air, a fiction designed to serve her own twisted desires. You're sick, I whispered. I'm a realist, she sneered. You two were living in a fairy tale, and it was going to end one way or another. I was just trying to give you a happier ending. Mark walked right up to her, invading her space until she was forced to take a step back. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. This is the ending, Chloe, he said, his voice like ice. Get out of our house. Get out of our lives. If I ever see you or Alex again, it will be too soon. We're done. She stared at him, her mouth opening and closing, searching for another angle, another lie. She found nothing. She snatched her purse and the pathetic bottle of wine from the table and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence she left behind was heavy. It was filled with weeks of unspoken fear and manufactured doubt. Mark stood with his back to me, his shoulders slumped. For a second, I was afraid the broken man was back. He turned around and his eyes were full of tears, but his face was clear. I'm so sorry, Sandra, he breathed. I am so sorry I let her do that. That I believed any of it. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around him, burying my face in his chest. It wasn't your fault. She's a predator. She found a wound and poured salt in it. He held me tight. feel like such an idiot. Don't, I said, pulling back to look him in the eyes. You're not an idiot. You're a man who loves his wife and was terrified of losing her. She used that. She twisted it into something ugly, but the feeling itself, Mark, that's not ugly at all. We stood there for a long time, just holding each other. There were no quick fixes. The damage was done. It would take time to sweep out all the poison she dripped into the foundation of our home. But for the first time in weeks, we were on the same side looking at the same enemy. We weren't a patient and a caregiver anymore. We were a team. Later that night, after we talked for hours, raw and honest conversations that we should have had months ago, I sat on the couch with my laptop. Mark came and sat beside me, resting his head on my shoulder. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm writing a message," I said. I pulled up a group chat with our closest mutual friends. The ones who knew us as a couple. The ones who also knew Chloe. My fingers typed clear and without malice. It wasn't revenge, it was a public health announcement. Hi everyone. This is hard to write, but Mark and I feel you need to know. We are no longer friends with Chloe or Alex. We discovered that for the past several months, Chloe has been actively and deliberately trying to destroy our marriage for her and Alex's personal gratification. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a calculated, predatory, and deeply damaging campaign against our family. We are telling you this not for sympathy, but as a warning. Be careful who you trust. I read it aloud to Mark. He nodded slowly. Send it. I hit enter. The message sat there in the chat window, stark and final. It was an amputation. Painful but necessary to stop the spread of the sickness. We had cut her out. And in the space she left behind, there was finally room for us to start healing.
Story 7.
It was one of those parties where the music felt louder than the conversations, where laughter bounced across the room, and everyone seemed eager to outshine one another with energy and charm. I arrived with my wife, Clara, expecting a night of fun, casual dancing, and maybe a few good memories. We came early, grabbed drinks, and mingled with a few friends. At first, everything felt normal until I noticed how often she glanced across the room at the same man, someone I had seen before but never really noticed. He wasn't particularly impressive in size, yet there was something unsettling about the confidence in the way he leaned against the wall, smirking each time Clara looked his way. The moment I understood what was happening felt unreal. Clara, laughing and moving through the crowd, walked straight toward him and offered her hand. He took it eagerly, and I stood frozen as she danced with him, twirling, laughing, leaning in closer than any friend ever should. My chest tightened. It wasn't anger. It was disbelief, hurt, and a stunned curiosity about how she could do this in front of me, her husband. Others noticed too. Some exchanged awkward glances, while others tried not to stare. I stayed calm. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want to shout or humiliate her. I wanted to see what would happen if I remained composed. That's when I made my move. Not in anger, but with precision. I approached a woman standing alone, watching the crowd, and politely extended my hand. "Care to dance?" I asked, my voice steady and confident. She looked surprised, then smiled. As we stepped onto the floor, the energy shifted. People began to notice. Where Clara had been the center of attention, eyes slowly turned toward me. I led my partner smoothly, moving in time with the music. The effect was immediate. Whispers spread. "Did you see that? He's dancing with someone else now." Clara's smile faltered, her confidence slipping as she glanced in my direction. I danced casually, but my eyes never left her. She seemed to realize, little by little, that this wasn't jealousy. It wasn't revenge. It was a quiet display of control and composure. Each time the other man tried to wink or gesture, I simply strengthened my presence on the floor. The crowd naturally gravitated toward calm confidence. Clara's grip tightened briefly around his arm, then loosened, uncertainty settling in. I noticed the shift around us. People were watching, waiting, sensing something meaningful unfolding, and Clara felt it too. The music changed, and the floor grew more crowded. I spun my partner with ease, and a soft gasp rippled through the crowd at the grace of the move. The man Clara danced with attempted a flashier flourish, but it was clear. He couldn't match the steady confidence coming from me. Her eyes met mine. I didn't smile or mock her. I simply let her see, without words, that I had taken control of the room, of the moment, and most importantly, of myself. She felt it. Everyone felt it. The mood shifted from lighthearted fun to intense curiosity, like they were witnessing a slow, elegant standoff. Then came the turning point. The man beside Clara stepped forward, trying to reclaim dominance in front of the crowd. I moved closer, not confrontational, just present. Clara froze. He noticed too, his smirk fading. The crowd sensed the tension, their murmurs growing louder. I didn't speak. I didn't threaten. I didn't need to. My calm, measured presence said everything. In that moment, Clara realized her choice hadn't gone unnoticed. It had been met with dignity, grace, and control she never expected from me. She stepped back, releasing his hand. For the first time that night, hesitation showed in her movements. The man's confidence cracked. I guided my partner through a slow, intentional turn, gliding past them as the room took notice and began to whisper. Clara's expression shifted. Shock, disbelief, and regret blended across her face. She had assumed I would laugh it off, or worse, cause a scene. Instead, I flipped the moment without raising my voice or creating any drama. I had reclaimed not only my dignity, but also the quiet power of presence she had long taken for granted. By the next song, the crowd's attention had completely shifted. I danced with ease and confidence, while Clara lingered near the edge of the floor, unsure where to stand or what to do. A friend tried pulling her back into the dance, but she hesitated, caught in the realization that everything had changed. People whispered about what they had witnessed. Some looked impressed, others stunned. And Clara stood still, unable to hide her surprise, or the dawning understanding that her choices carried consequences. Consequences that didn't need confrontation or anger to be felt. When the music ended, I returned to our table with my partner. smiling politely at those around us, calm as if nothing unusual had occurred. Clara followed shortly after, her face pale and tight. I didn't need to speak. The message had already been delivered through composure, confidence, and action. That night, she understood that even subtle disrespect in public never goes unnoticed, and that sometimes the strongest response isn't confrontation, but a quiet, graceful display of self-respect. By the end of the evening, the party had settled, but the tension lingered. People still whispered about the moment, about the shift in energy, about the calm man who took control without raising his voice. Clara never mentioned it. Not that night, not in the days that followed, but I saw it in her eyes. A quiet, undeniable respect. That night marked a turning point in our relationship, a subtle yet powerful reminder that composure, presence, and timing often speak louder than anger, confrontation, or humiliation. And in the silence that followed, I knew the lesson had been learned by her, by everyone, and most importantly, by me.
Story 8.
The C-130's engines whined down and the ramp dropped onto the tarmac at Fort Bragg. A year in the sand gone. Just like that. I slung my duffel over my shoulder and walked into the hangar, scanning the crowd of families. Then I saw her. Sarah. My wife. She was backlit by the North Carolina sun, looking like an angel in a white sundress. She ran to me and I dropped my gear, catching her in my arms. I buried my face in her hair. She smelled like home. Like freshly cut grass and the lavender soap she always used. I missed you so much, she whispered into my chest. It's over, I said. I'm home. For good. The first week was a blur of perfect moments. We slept in, made love, and talked for hours about the future. The farm was thriving, the house was immaculate. My life was a blueprint I'd drawn myself, and everything was exactly where it should be. We were going to start trying for a baby right now. The first crack in the foundation appeared on a Tuesday. I was looking for a spare charging cable in the junk drawer in the kitchen. Underneath a tangle of old cords and dead batteries was her old phone, the one she said had shattered when she dropped it 6 months ago. Except it wasn't shattered. A long crack spiderwebbed across the screen, but it was intact. Curiosity is a bastard. I plugged it in. The screen lit up. A passcode. I tried her birthday. No luck. I tried our anniversary. Nothing. Then I tried 1, 2, 3, 4. It opened. Her texts were still there. A 6-month-long conversation with a contact named Ryder. I started at the beginning. Asterisk. Ryder fence posts are in. Head in. Out. Asterisk. Asterisk. Sarah already. Stay. Have a beer with me. Asterisk. He was the handyman she'd hired to fix up the back 40 while I was gone. The cowboy, she'd called him. A good old boy married with a baby on the way. Just a friendly guy. I kept scrolling. The text went from friendly to flirty. Flirty to filthy. Asterisk. Ryder. Can't stop thinking about you. Asterisk. Asterisk. Sarah, then come back over. He's thousands of miles away. Asterisk. My thumb swiped faster, a slick of sweat on the screen. The words blurred into a single cohesive nightmare. I saw their first kiss described in detail. Their first time in my truck. then in my barn, then in my bed. Asterisk. Sarah, I love you. I've never felt this way about anyone. Asterisk. Asterisk. Ryder, I love you too. More than her. Asterisk. Her. His pregnant wife. Then I saw the text that stopped my heart. Asterisk. Sarah. Last night was amazing. I love feeling you inside me with nothing between us. Asterisk. Unprotected. While we were planning to start a family, my family, the bile rose in my throat. I ran to the bathroom and heaved into the toilet until there was nothing left. I sat on the cold tile, the phone still clutched in my hand. They had planned a future. He was going to leave his wife after the baby was born. She was going to leave me the day I got home. They'd sell his place and live here. On my farm. In my house. The front door opened. Alan, honey, I'm home. I splashed water on my face and shoved the phone deep into my pocket. I walked out of the bathroom and forced a smile. My military training kicked in. Compartmentalize, suppress, survive. Hey, I said, my voice steady. How was your day? She kissed me. It felt like poison. Great, I was thinking we could grill steaks tonight. Celebrate. Celebrate what? Just you being home, she said, beaming. Us. The next few weeks were a special kind of hell. I lived a double life. On the outside, I was the happy returning husband. I went to the gym, I worked on the farm, I smiled at dinner. On the inside, I was a ghost. At night, I'd lie next to her staring at the ceiling, replaying their texts in my head. Some nights, I'd go to my gun safe, open it, and just look at my service pistol. The thought was a cool, dark comfort. A final way out. But I'd slam the safe shut, my whole body shaking. She never noticed a thing. She'd curl up against me, talking about baby names. Finn for a boy. Olivia for a girl. She wanted to paint the spare bedroom a soft yellow. My stoicism started to fray. One afternoon, I was in the workshop trying to fix a generator. My hands were trembling, my breath caught in my chest. The walls felt like they were closing in. I slid down the wall, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The door creaked open. It was Sarah. Alan, oh my God, what's wrong? She knelt beside me. I couldn't speak. I could only shake my head. Is it your new pre-workout stuff? She asked, her voice dripping with concern. I told you that stuff was too strong. You need to be more careful. She helped me up, leading me into the house like a child, completely oblivious. She saw a panic attack and blamed it on creatine. It wasn't a lack of perception. It was a complete refusal to see. That was it. That was the moment I went from victim to soldier. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Then I hired a private investigator, an old army buddy who owed me a favor. I just need to know if it's still happening, I told him. Confirmation. 2 days later, Sarah kissed me goodbye. I'm meeting Stephanie for lunch, and then we're going shopping. I'll be back around 5. Love you. Love you too, I said. The words tasted like ash. I spent the afternoon cleaning my rifles, taking them apart, oiling the pieces, putting them back together. A calm, methodical task. A focus for the rage. My phone buzzed. A text from the PI. It was a picture. Grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Sarah getting out of her car in a Target parking lot. She was smiling, walking toward a dusty Ford F-250. Ryder's truck. He was leaning against the driver's side door, grinning back at her. The picture was time-stamped 5 minutes ago. My stomach twisted into a knot of ice. She was with him. Right now. My phone buzzed again. A new text. From Sarah. Asterisk. Having so much fun with Steph. We're trying on dresses. Wish you were here. Miss you already. XOXO asterisk. I stared at the two messages on my screen, stacked one on top of the other. A picture of my wife meeting her lover. A lie about shopping with a friend. The world didn't explode. It just went silent and sharp like the moment after a flashbang goes off. The ringing in my ears stopped. The fog in my head cleared. There was only the mission. I didn't text back. I didn't call. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and opened the junk drawer. I took out her old phone, the cracked repository of my own personal hell, and plugged it in. I photographed the screen with my phone, capturing the worst of it. The I love yous. The plans for my house. The text about unprotected sex. I saved the PI's picture. Then I went on Facebook. It took me less than 5 minutes to find Ryder's profile. His wife's name was Chloe. Her profile picture was a maternity shot, her hands cradling a perfect round belly. Her public posts were full of excitement about their baby boy. My finger hovered over her name. I copied the link to her profile. Then I sat in my armchair in the living room and waited. It was the easiest thing I'd done in months. There was no rage, no sorrow, just a cold, hard sense of purpose. An objective to be taken. The front door opened a little after 5. "I'm home," she sang, dropping shopping bags by the door. You would not believe the sale they had at Belk. She came over and leaned down to kiss me. I turned my head so her lips landed on my cheek. She frowned. "Everything okay?" "Where were you today, Sarah?" I asked. My voice was flat. Devoid of everything. "I told you with Stephanie. Shopping." The lie came so easily. So practiced. "That's funny," I said, not looking at her. "Because Stephanie posted a picture of her and her kids at the zoo this afternoon. She tagged her mom. Said they were spending the whole day together." The air in the room changed. The pressure dropped. "Oh, well, we just went for a bit in the morning and then..." She started the lies already tangling. I held up my phone, showing her the PI's photo. Her smiling face walking toward Ryder's truck. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "You're still seeing him?" I said. It wasn't a question. "Alan, it's not what it looks like. We just met for coffee to talk? For closure?" "Closure," I repeated the word. It tasted like dirt. "While you were texting me about trying on dresses..." "I didn't want you to worry. I knew how it would look," she cried, the tears already starting to well. "It meant nothing, I swear. It's over. I chose you." I watched her a specimen under glass. The performance was flawless. The panicked regret, the pleading eyes. It was all a lie. I had read the script. I knew how the story was supposed to end. With me gone. "I see," I said. I picked up my phone. I had already drafted the message. I created a new group text. I added Sarah, her mom, her dad, her sister Emily, and Chloe Ryder's pregnant wife. I attached the 5 screenshots. The photo from the parking lot. The text about loving him more than me. The plan to take my farm. The one about having unprotected sex. And the picture of her lying texts from this afternoon. I didn't add a single word of my own. I just hit send. A moment of silence hung in the air. Then the buzz. Her phone on the entryway table. my phone in my hand. Her face went from pale to sheet white as she grabbed her phone. Her eyes darted across the screen, the realization dawning. Her phone began to ring. Her mother's name flashed on the screen. She ignored it. It rang again. Her father. "What did you do?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a fury that had nothing to do with remorse. "What did you do?" I told the truth, I said, standing up. "Something you seem to have forgotten how to do. You sent that to Chloe." "Are you insane? She's pregnant." "And you were sleeping with her husband. Unprotected. Did you think about her then?" She collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing. "It was just a fling. Alan A. Mistake. We can fix this. I can fix this." My phone rang. It was her father. I put it on speaker. "Alan, what the hell is this? You're airing our dirty laundry to everyone," he boomed. "Your daughter's been having an affair for 6 months, Bill. I thought you should know." "For Christ's sake, son, you were gone a year. What did you expect?" "A woman has needs," he yelled. "You've always been so distant. You can't just shut down and expect her to wait around forever." I heard her mother in the background. "This is your fault, Alan. You pushed her to this." I looked at Sarah. She wasn't protesting. She was just sitting there, letting them defend her. Letting them blame me. I clicked the phone off and dropped it on the table. "Get your things," I said. "I want you out, tonight." The divorce was filed the next day. The battle lines were drawn. Her family treated me like a leper. My friends, the ones who had been there when I put on the uniform and when I took it off, circled the wagons. They brought me beer and takeout, sat with me in silence on the porch, and never once told me I should have seen it coming. Sarah sent me desperate texts. Asterisk. "Please. Let's go to counseling. I'll do anything to make this right. I still love you." Asterisk. It was all noise. 2 weeks after the confrontation, my PI sent me one final email free of charge. It was a screenshot of Sarah's updated LinkedIn profile and a confirmation of a submitted application. A job in Austin, Texas, Ryder's hometown. She was pleading for our marriage with one hand and planning her escape with the other. The divorce was brutally, blessedly fast. She didn't fight for the house or the farm. She couldn't. It was all mine before she ever came into the picture. She took her car, her clothes, and the life she had built on lies, and she was gone. I heard through the grapevine that Ryder's wife had the baby, a healthy boy, and filed for divorce the following week, moving back to her parents' house. The first few months alone were quiet. The kind of quiet that buzzes. I'd walk the property, I'd cleared stand in the house I'd built, and feel like a ghost. I had been dismantled bolt by bolt down to the concrete slab of my foundation. There were nights the gun safe still called to me, a dark whisper in the silence. But one morning I woke up and the first thing I thought about wasn't her. It was the split rail fence that needed mending by the creek. I got up, made coffee, and went to work. My hands felt steady. The sun on my back felt warm. I had been so focused on being the rock, the stoic soldier, the self-sufficient man. I thought vulnerability was a liability, a weakness to be trained out of you. I was wrong. Vulnerability is what's left when the bullshit is burned away. It's the foundation. Faith, my friends, my own two hands, that's what I rebuilt on. I don't know what happened to her or to him, and I don't care. Their story is over. Mine is just beginning again. The blueprint of my life was shattered, but the land is still here. And for the first time in a long time, I'm free to build whatever I want.